For those of you who think I may use too many numbers, this one is this one might be a little rough. There's a lot. So before I get into actual corners that are available, I wanted you guys to know what they've been actually dealing with corners. So Mike Hughes has allowed 8 of 9 to be completed against him. That's 88.9%, 14 yards per completion, 12.4 per target, a score, and 155.6 passer rating. 158.3 is a perfect passer rating. Hughes is very close, just being 3 whole points away from that. Holton Hill, 16 targets, 12 completions, 75%, 12.6 yards per completion, 9.4 per target. Also a touchdown, 124.7 rating. Dantzler, 7 of 7, so 100%. 11.6 per completion, 11.6 per target. Has a, 154.5 passer rating allowed. And then you get to Gladney, who has also played just one game between, because Dantzler also only played in one game. But Gladney targeted 6 times, allowed 4, 66.7%, 6.8 per completion, 4.5 per target, 116.0 quarterback rating, which is by far the lead. So congrats. Congrats to Gladney there, I guess. 38, as a whole, 38 targets, 31 completions, 81.6%, 11.2 per completion, 9.5 per target, 4 touchdowns. They've all allowed at least one with a quarterback rating of 142.4, and there hasn't been an interception among them yet. So, now we get into the actual stuff here, now that we understand why this may be needed, especially since now some of them are getting hurt with Hughes and Dantzler. But I'm going to start with Morris Claiborne. He's 30 years old. He only had 7 targets last year, and he did play in 8 games, but he only got 7 targets. So I combined both 2018 and 19 into his numbers. In that 2-year span, he was targeted 101 times, allowed 53 completions, 52.5%, 14 yards per completion, 7.4 per target, allowed 4 touchdowns, had 2 interceptions, and an 81.5 passer rating against him. Now, overall, those actually really aren't bad numbers, but the yards per completion and per target kind of tell you he doesn't always get beat, but when he does, it is quite far down the field. And in terms of actual deep speed guys, he is not the guy to cover that. But we don't really have a guy to cover much of anything right now, so I view that as an upgrade. Prince Amukamara, he is the second guy I have on here. He's 31. He was cut just recently by the Raiders after being cut by the Bears. So, and last year he had 71 targets, 47 were completed, 66.2%, also 14 yards per completion, 9.3 per target, no interceptions, allowed 2 scores, and 105.2 passer rating. Now, 88.6 is actually the average passer rating, so 105 is, kind of below average, but that would be the best on the team right now. And he is more of a physical press man kind of guy, so when he starts losing steps, he may lose them in bunches, which is a little concerning because he is 31, but in terms of just a stopgap, it might not hurt to bring him in, see what he has, that kind of thing, especially now that veterans are allowed on the practice squad now. So maybe you even look at doing something like that with one of these corners. The next one is Ross Cockrell. He's 29. He's actually the youngest on this list. He was targeted 67 times and allowed 37 completions last year, 55.2%. Nice going. 12.2 per completion, 6.7 per target, had 2 interceptions, allowed a score, and a quarterback rating of 68.6. So, not bad for Cockrell. He is mostly a zone guy from what I do know of him. And Minnesota doesn't play the most zone, so that's kind of why he's not the first name mentioned. Morris Claiborne is also kind of more of a man guy, as is Amukamara, which is why they were up first. And I do think Cockrell, though, can certainly add a lot of depth and definitely push for potential starting time, especially since guys are now starting to miss injury time here. So something Minnesota should be considering is corners. The next one, Trumaine Johnson. He is 30 years old and currently on the Panthers practice squad. So he had a bit of a down year in 2019. He was with the Jets from 2018 and 2019 after signing a very lucrative deal. He only made it 2 years in. And in the Jets community, he has been touted as not very good. But in 2019, he allowed 20 completions on 27 targets at 74.1%, 11 yards per completion, 8.1 per target. He allowed one score, had one pick, and a 94.5 quarterback rating allowed, which, once again, would all lead Minnesota right now. But in 2018, he was targeted 72 times for 43 completions, 59.7%, 12.4 per completion, 7.4 per target. Had 4 interceptions, 2 scores, and allowed a rating of 68.9. So if he can come back to that form, that's something Minnesota should probably look at. Not saying that he will come back to the form, but something you may want to at least consider since he has had a lot of success in the league, and you also could look at it like he knows he has a knack for the football, because in the last 2 years he's been targeted 99 times, 63 of those have been completed, 63.6% as a total, 12 yards per completion, 7.6 per target. He's allowed 3 scores and gotten 5 interceptions on a 75.9 quarterback rating. So that's really not that bad. You can kind of work with that, and he's another bigger, longer press man guy that we know Zimmer likes to have. So even though he's been touted as a horrible free agent pickup by the Jets when they decided to pay him over $70 million, he may not be bad for someone making nearly veteran minimum on a roster that is completely depleted of corner depth right now. And the last one is kind of the one that got me to make the video in a way, because I saw a thing. Captain Munnerlyn, he is 32 years old. He actually responded to Minnesota's little Twitter thing I saw. And I was like, maybe we should do this. And here we are. So he didn't actually play in 2019. He signed with the Bills after 2018, going into 2019. After the Panthers released him, and he was part of the Bills' final cuts in 2019. He did not play last year. And I can only find numbers for 2018. So, yeah. In 2018, he was targeted 73 times, 48 were completed, 65.8%, 10.7 per completion, 7.0 per target, allowed 2 scores and 1 interception, 89.5 quarterback rating. So really not that bad if he can come back to that level. I'm not really sure. He had a year away of the game, another year to his to his age. Of course, he's 32 now. But he does know the system, which would be super helpful with all the COVID protocols and things like that. Because if they were to sign a guy, let's say, or try to sign a guy Sunday or Monday, likely can't get him in there until Wednesday or Thursday. And so now we're talking, probably inactive the first week. Munnerlyn shouldn't have that problem because he should know the system. He was here in Minnesota for 3 years. So I would think that would be okay. He also could have some communication with the safeties because obviously Harrison Smith was still a starter back then. And Anthony Harris joined the team in 2015. Munnerlyn was on the team. Obviously Harris not a starter, but at least familiar with the guy himself a little bit. I would like to know if you guys have actually anyone I should have added to this. Maybe there could be a part 2. Who knows? Depends where all this goes. But yeah, thoughts, opinions, all that good stuff. Liking and subscribing, super helpful. And I know A lot of numbers. Apologize if you don't like the numbers. But until next time, I bid y'all adieu.